Okay, well, I got involved with the Little League in the Triton area. It was, I think, my second year of teaching. I was teaching 6th grade, and Lee Stevens came up to me and wanted to know if I coached the All-Star team. And at that time, I was working on my master's, and I said, well, it's pretty busy, but he told me that they didn't have a coach, and if they couldn't get a coach, they wouldn't have a team. So I coached that team. And then a gentleman named Danny Denny came to me after that year and asked me if I would be interested in running the Little League. At that time, the JCs had ownership of it, and he told me that the JCs that were involved in the Little League back when it first started, people like Cliff Leiter and Darwin Brunk, their kids had already come through, and the JCs were a little more interested in the junior miss than they were in the Little League. So more or less wanted to know if I could get some people involved. We talked a little bit. I talked to guys like Bill, Terry Oliver, some fathers at the time. My oldest boy was around 5 at the time, and we were still, my wife and I were still living in La Paz when this all transpired. We had just moved here to Bourbon. So anyhow, I got together with some fathers, Owen Tracy. I remember we met at Owen's house, and we said, okay, what do we need to do? And, well, we thought, and I don't know who suggested it, maybe Bill can remember, we needed to incorporate ourselves.
Yep.
So
that was me.
That was Bill, okay. So, and Bill can correct me here because I'm just going by memory, but Gary Price kind of wrote up the tax stuff that we needed. And Mark Wagner.
Mark Wagner did all the legal work to
did all the
incorporate.
And we became incorporated, so we kind of had a board. And it was mainly Little League fathers and myself. And, you know, the Little League started before that. And it wasn't like it is now. It was basically just boys. But it was about the only thing that went on in the summer. And, you know, they used to have in-ground dugouts, and they would fill up with water. Stuffing was coming out of the bases. You know, they didn't sell any concessions. Didn't have much equipment. So, you know, we started basically financially from scratch. And I remember we needed some money. And we got some sponsors, so we could buy t-shirts. And that wasn't a problem. I didn't have one sponsor turn me down. And I thought, well, we got to have some money for equipment. So I got this idea, TV Time Popcorn in Bremen. Talked to them, and they had like a fundraising thing. So we had, and I was scared to death because you bought it up front. If we didn't sell it, we were stuck with it. And so I bought a very small amount, and by the first couple nights, we were completely sold out. The kids went out and sold this popcorn. And so I actually generated some money to buy some equipment. And so that's how it got started. And it's kind of went on from there. I don't know if Bill can add anything at the beginning of it.
I don't know if I can add anything to the beginning. To be honest, I forgot about those underground dugouts over here that would fill up with water every time it rained, and then they'd smell terrible for a week after the water got out, and they were terrible. And we only had one diamond.
We only had one diamond.
Only had one diamond. This was the only diamond we had, and then I guess with my efforts, we built the diamond down there because our numbers had grown to where we couldn't play on just one diamond. And then I don't know. I try to remember some of this stuff that we went through.
Yeah. No, Bill was instrumental in getting that diamond put in down there, and it really helped. Now I guess the next thing happened was T-ball.
Yeah, T-ball.
Well, actually, I think T-ball might even came before
Maybe.
that diamond.
I think it did because T-ball started and we were trying to do it net the green and originally, and that was a hassle.
Got a little story about the T-ball. I was up here keeping book one night, and it was Max Price, who was one of our Little League coaches, and he went on to college, and he came back, and he came up to visit me, and he said, "You ought to see this thing that got down in Florida." I said, "Well, tell me about it." He says, "Well, it's called T-ball." So they got these little kids, and they hit the ball off the tee, and I said, "Well, what are the rules?" And he said, "Well, I don't know what the rules are." So I remember my oldest son was in kindergarten, and I talked to Rick Sarber, who had a boy my son's age, and a couple other fathers, and we decided we'd have a T-ball. And we made up our own rules, because there was no rules. And we used real baseballs for a long time. So we had these little kids out there, and now we have baseballs that are kind of softened, so if they hit somebody, back then we were using real baseballs.
Pretty getting better.
And after the first of the year, I started getting calls from Plymouth and Bremen and LaVille. Well, they want to know what the T-ball rules were. So, well, we just kind of made up our own. So that's what we did. And then that's kind of changes over a period of time too. But I guess you would have to say that Max Price was the founding father of T-ball at the Triton Little League. I mean, he was the one that came up with the idea. Although he didn't know any of the rules, he just kind of made it up as we went. But, then Bill got that diamond, and then probably the next biggest thing was softball.
Well, there's even more exciting things about T-ball. We used to keep score in T-ball games, and after all the problems with keeping score in T-ball games, we said, that's enough of that.
Yeah. We actually had fathers about got in a fight.
Over a T-ball.
Yeah, over a T-ball game. So. But then as far as the evolution of the league, Triton started high school softball. And the first time girls would play softball at Triton was their freshman year. They'd go out for the high school softball team. And we kind of encouraged softball. There was Smokey Patterson and Mike Dixon used to have some. Mike had a softball team over at Etna Green, and Smokey had one over here in Bourbon. And they kind of had some softball, but it just never really caught on. That wasn't under our jurisdiction. They just kind of where the Matchett Center is now. That's where they used to play softball when Smokey was coaching them. And I think Lucy Peckerman was involved in that. And Mike Dixon had the softball field over at Etna Green. But then they kind of got out of it, and then we didn't have softball, and then we had high school softball, and I'm not sure how all that started, but we were not very good, and the girls were not very skilled. And I remember one time I met with the board of directors, and I says, "Guys," I said, "we got to do something for our girls. We don't do this in any other sport here where the first time a girl picks up a ball is when she's in high school." I said, we don't do that in any other sport, but we do that in softball. I it's not fair to the kids. And so, if we're going to have softball, we had needed a new softball diamond. We had to have a softball diamond. So we approached the school about land, and they wanted to know if we could build it big enough for the high school team to play on it. We really had no choice because we had no place else to put it. So we did, but I think Bill would agree. We all agreed that if we're going to do this, we wanted to do it right. So, you know, we hired somebody to come in, put the diamond in.
Hired somebody to put the fence up.
Yeah. And then we had some electrical ran over from the Little League field over to the softball shed. Jerry Moriarty built the softball shed, the press box. I did the cement. Michiana contractor said, well, you got to think about putting lights up because when we put the softball down, we had lights. And we said, well, what would that cost? And they said, $70,000 before we have that kind of money. And I was over at Middlebury taking Little League pictures. I was talking to them, and they put their own lights up. Well, that kind of caught my interest. So, anyhow, we got a hold of Musco Lighting out of Iowa. We said, well, how much would the lighting cost? They said, we can deliver it to you. You put them up. We can deliver it to you. $36,000. It's about half. So we had help. We had a lot of help. We had, Hensley Fabricating help.
There were a lot of interesting stories about putting lighting up because we had no clue what we were doing. And one of the things you had to do was we had to drill these holes in the ground and put these cement anchors in that they furnish, okay? And they had specified certain locations where they had to be. Well, the first hole, and that was, we hired Michiana Contracting to drill those holes because we didn't have any way to do it. Well, the first hole we dug, we hit a storm drain line, cut the storm drain line in two. We didn't know it was there.
So we knew there was one there. We thought we missed it.
We thought we missed it, but we did. We cut that sucker right in two.
Well, I put 4 holes in the ground, but we hit the drain right off.
Hit the drain right away. So now the question is, we got to move this. We can't dig this hole here. So dummy here calls Musco and says, well, it says that, that this anchor is supposed to be in this location, but we can't put it there. We got to move it like, what, 3 or 4 feet to the east. And I talked with this engineer out there. You know what he tells me on the phone? It's not rocket science. Just move it. And I'm going, okay.
Well, we didn't know. And, it went well. But we had fathers chip in. We had a guy that had a daughter that he worked for a telephone company out of Fort Wayne. And he got a thing that plowed the electric wire in the ground. He would do it after work at nights. I would be out here helping him, kind of feeding it in. And, we had a lot of fathers help out. Barry Baker from Etna Green.
He helped with the wiring.
Helped with the wiring. Just everybody chipped in.
Yeah, we got a lot of help out of Greg Hensley. And one of the interesting things, he was able with his crane to set the cement anchors, and we came down here to actually set the lights on the anchors. And he started to pick one of those lights up, and his crane wasn't going to do it. It was starting to do this, and there happened to be a guy back here where I live in that subdivision with a great big crane setting rafters on a house. So Greg went over and asked him. And this guy, after he got done setting those rafters, came over here and set those lights. And we never saw a bill, so we don't know if Greg
paid for it
or the guy just donated it. But he set those 4 lights and came over here after he got done over there and hoisted those things up for us and set them in place. And I was the idiot out there in the field with binoculars because they gave you direction. You had to measure so far from here and so far from there. When you set the lights, you had to twist them to with binoculars. You could see a certain thing in the light. So dummy here's out there with binoculars trying to set these light poles. But if we did it again, we'd be a lot smarter.
Yeah, well, and that's what they told me at Middlebury. Says once you've done one field, it gets easier. but that was I thought was our final big project. Thought we were set, and then came up the concession stand, and we kind of outgrew. When we first started concessions here, way back in the early '70s, I started, again, to make a little money. I would sell Coke products, like out of cups and bags of potato chips. That was our concessions. And then we added a popcorn box. Then we added out. So we kept adding things. And so anyhow, by the way, I should bring in Jerry Lozier. Jerry Lozier and Buck Burt donated their time and put in the original concession stand. And I mean, it was like the Cadillac concession stands at the time. I mean, it was great. And really helped us a lot. But we kind of outgrew that. We
kept adding stuff.
And more. And when we first started, there wasn't much in it. People would drop their kids off and just leave. And now we get crowds. I mean, we get hundreds here a night. And so, we had Kyle Pugh, who was one of our kids, and he was involved in he died in a terrible accident. And we thought, we need new concession. Again, I said, you know what? These poor people that volunteer to work in those concessions, they're bumping into each other. There's hardly any room. I said, we just need more room. And so, we won't get into all the logistics of how this got here, but again, Alan Seville helped us a little bit. I think him doing it kept our costs down. I helped him out.
I got a grant.
Yeah, Bill got a grant through Marshall County Foundation. And then, we had fundraisers. And, at that time, the Bourbon Bank gave us a loan. And they gave us a loan for the softball diamond. They gave us a loan for the lights for the softball diamond. And they gave us a loan for this concession stand. And you have to understand, we really have no collateral. We have nothing really of any value. And that's, I can't say enough about the Masons. Because if the Little League folds up, I mean, what do you have left? Bats and balls? I mean, there's no real value of anything that we have.
I think you have to recognize, people don't recognize this, we don't own any of the diamonds.
Right.
We don't own anything. We don't really own this building. If we were to close up this building, it belongs to Triton School Corporation. So we don't really own this. And I think when Steve talks, of course you can't see it on this video, but this space here where the concrete split, that's how big our open. This building's 2/3 bigger.
It's 3 times bigger.
Three times bigger than that old concession stand. And it got to where if you worked in there, you're knocking each other down. So that's why we built this.
But we're always looking to improve. We don't own the diamonds, but we try to keep them up.
We maintain them.
We maintain them. And, the town helps with that. The school gives us some help. That's defrosting. We basically just want to provide a nice place for our kids and for our families. We had somebody working here the other day, so we didn't charge enough for certain concession items. And I told her, I said, that's probably true. We probably don't. We'd like to make some money. But at the same time, our view, I know Bill feels the same way, so do the rest of the people on our Little League committee. These are our families, and these are our kids.
We don't want to rip them off at a concession stand. That's not the idea.
We want a place for them to come down where they feel like there's some value. Uh, what we do is not perfect, I'm sure, and I'm sure we can always improve. We've manipulated our leagues. Our philosophy, I guess, we should. Our philosophy is this is a recreational league. That's what this is. We want to provide recreation for as many kids as possible. So we kind of manipulate what we do so that all kids can participate. We're not like South Bend. A lot of our kids couldn't play at a high level, little league. They just are not that skilled. But we kind of provide a situation where kids can come down and play, enjoy their time here, and then go home. And, we had to make that determination. We meet every spring, and our board's been kind of consistent with that. We want to provide a place for kids to play. Now, we'd like, additionally, to spin off a league where there's some development as they get older. But to be quite honest with you, that is actually secondary to our overall philosophy. Our overall philosophy is we want kids to have an enjoyable thing to do in the summer. And if some of those kids go on and play high school baseball and high school softball, great. And we hope maybe this contributes to that a little bit. But I guess more important to us is if it provides the kids an opportunity to do something during the summer and they're not uptown just walking around with no place to go, we think that's actually more important to our community. Because we're not a large community. We can't, say, well, these kids aren't important to us. So that's our philosophy. If anybody's ever say, well, what's your philosophy? Our philosophy is to give as many kids as many chances as possible to participate. And, we can't do it free, but we try to make it as economically as we can. And I really think we do a pretty good job with that. And, we can't do it without the town of Bourbon. And we can't do it without Triton School Corporation. And we've always, clear back since 1970, have always been able, collectively, between the town and the schools and the Little League, to provide a pretty nice situation. We had a softball game with Whitco last night. It's a junior high team. Person came up early on, and I didn't even tell this to Bill. Here's what they said. They said, "You sure got a nice park here." Now, I don't know if they're talking about the ballpark, if they're talking about the splash pad. I don't know. But, we get those kind of compliments from people outside of here. And, we do have a nice park. And, I know talking to the banks when we needed money, they said, you guys have done a wonderful job. And, as long as you guys are involved in it, we know it'll get taken care of. Now, we're getting pretty old. We got some young guys that are on the Little League committee, and they're probably going to have to take over, But we think they're good people, and we think it'll just go on. And because, it's not easy to provide for your kids. We're seeing this with school corp. We were just talking earlier, Bill and I, about school corporations and money issues with them, and it's not easy. And we think we have a nice place for kids down there. We think this is nice.
I think you have to recognize too. We do some other things here. This concession stand is open for all varsity and JV softball games. And, you know, it looks like the Little League is running it, which basically we are, but that money, the profit we make from that goes to support our summer softball programs for our girls from the high school. It isn't like we're gathering that up and spending that on the Little League. What profits we make go to, like we had the 14 under team this year. That money goes for their entry fees into the league they play in and for equipment for umpires we pay, I mean, for their games when they're here. So, you know, we generate that money to help support a high school program. So we do more than just Little League.
And just so everybody's clear and everybody actually sees this tape, okay, we have softball mothers and fathers working here during those times. So, you know, the labor comes
free
from those people, And you know what, I should add that generally we've had pretty good luck with Little League parents stepping in, and it is work. It gets busy down here. And it gets hot in here. We have air conditioning in here, but it gets hot in here when these windows are open, you know. So it's work. It's work, and it's constant, you know, when we got all these diamonds going on. So, but you know, it goes back to their kids, and you know, they've done a wonderful job. Our parents have done a wonderful job. We can't make this go without coaches, concession workers. This is all part of that, you know. And I'm telling you, it's really funny how it's kind of evolved. And Bill and I have had a big hand in that, but we're not isolated. We've had a lot of people. You know, we relit this field over here, and I forgot to bring that up. We had Sherm Stevens was involved in that, Nolan Tracy, and Lawmaster Roofing provided us with, you know, we were just up there, and, you know, we doubled our lighting and cut the consumption in half by going to newer lighting. So, you know, in the long run, we've saved money too. I mean, you know, everything's been about efficiency. You know, when Alan put this building in, this is insulated, and it's got steel in it. You know, this is a well put. You know, we had to get a guy to draw up plans to meet all the state specifications. As the architect, So you know, there's nothing that's been done cheaply about this. You know, we've done it right, but that's kind of how that's. The Little League, more or less.
Yeah, one of the jokes about this building is if there's ever a tornado, this is the building Steve and I want to be in. Because I don't think it's going to blow this sucker away.
There's a lot of steel in there. So. But I don't know. I hope that kind of will kind of explain some things. You know, Andy Denny kind of really got it kicking it off. You know. He was in the JCs, and he says, "You think he could get some guys to do it?" That's kind of how we got involved. And you know, before that, you know, we'd be remiss not to bring up guys like Cliff Leiter and Butch Markham. They started the original Little League way before we were around. You know, they started it, and they had kids in it, and you know. You'd probably be better off talking to somebody like Larry Lemler, some of these original guys that were here when that all started. Because I think actually his mom, they donated. I think the Lemlers donated land for this original ball field out here. So.
Yeah, they did. This diamond over here was actually owned by the Lemlers. That house over there, and they then eventually donated it to the Little League and put this diamond on. Neither me or Steve were around for that, but that they donated that land. I'm sure Larry could tell you more about that. I'm going to say something else here, as we're wrapping this up. You know, Steve and I, we talk quite a bit sometimes. We have some concerns because him and I, we're older than dirt right now. We hope we got some young people that are going to step up and keep this going. Because, am I right?
Yeah.
I mean, we actually talk about that, worry about it a little bit, because it's been really successful with a lot of help from a lot of people. I mean, you talk about the bank, go out there to borrow money, and Ralph would just give us some money. I mean, whatever we asked for, that's what we got. And I mean, there is a concern. I want to just say that as we end this up, that hopefully somebody's going to step up when Steve and I walk away from here and do this.
The leadership of it is key. I mean, like, the people we got right now, our philosophy is this is kind of a recreational league. We get different people. That whole philosophy may change, and that's fine. We just think it's the way we think is probably best for all our kids. Had a mother last year came up. I had a child that was kind of special needs, and we were just closing up the season. And she came up. It was very touching. She says, "I want to thank you for the way you have this set up, because I don't think my son could have played in a different setting and allowed him to play." And I thought that was nice. I shared that with some of the guys because she's probably right. If the league wasn't manipulated the kind of way we do it, her boy probably would not have been able to play. But, he was, and that was a parent appreciated that. And so, for maybe all the criticisms we get and stuff, and we get that, maybe even some of it's justified.
I'm sure it is.
But it's kind of nice. You got somebody that takes time, and you know what? It's just person to person. I mean, I shared that with the other people who just came up to me personally, and I just told her thank you. And then I went on and picked up some papers off the ground and put them in the trash can. She didn't have to do that, but she took her time to do that. So that's kind of how. We can't actually do it in short order because it kind of just evolved to where it is now. And I don't know what it's going to be like in 20 years. I don't know.
I'm not sure what's going to be like in 5.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a living entity. It just changes from year to year.
We were just talking about our school enrollment, how it's kind of dropped, And when enrollment drops, it impacts our summer programs, And then you have more demand from kids in the summer and other things. There's all kinds of things going on out there. Where when we first started,
we were it.
Yeah. What did boys do in the summer? Well, they played baseball. What they did. But now there's lots of things going on. And they're wholesome things. But it's competition. So that's kind of where we're at. Anything else?
You look at this in the summer now, and Steve and I both have grandkids in this stuff, but there's junior golf, there's basketball leagues for ages like 4th graders on up going on. And this stuff's soccer. This stuff's going on all summer. So these kids, part of our numbers are down because these kids can't do everything. I mean, they've got so many things people want them to do that you got to pick and choose.
Yeah. But you know what? I don't know if people have ever been down here. It's busy down here in the summer. It is busy.
It is.
And you know what? It's kind of nice that it's busy. I mean, there's some headaches with that, but it's kind of nice that people want to be here.
It really is. I hate to say this, but it's a social event. When there are games going on.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, people down here talking to each other that they haven't seen for a while or something, it becomes a big social event that evening. And that's kind of nice. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
And it gives grandparents something to do.
Yeah.
My wife and I went to Fort Wayne and watched our grandson play. We had to wait for a couple to walk by, and you can tell his grandma and grandpa. And my wife says, "Well, there goes a couple of grandparents." I says, "Yeah, that's what grandparents do."
Yeah.
That's what we do.
That's what we do.
We see grandparents down here all the time.
Yeah.
Get them out of the house,
In fact, Steve and I try and cover for each other so we can go watch some of these grandkids.
Yeah. So, But that's about it. I
That's
mean,
it.
that's it.